What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. We're going to install the 2024 KTM EXCF and Husqvarna FES plated bike specific for 2024 lighting package. So the tidy tail and the headlight switch, there are some improvements and changes to the 24 bike that mean that the previous generation switches and accessories do not work on the 24 bikes. So this kit, this bundle, is only for those bikes. Those other switches and components are not forward compatible, and these devices are not backwards compatible. It is specific only to the 24 plus generation bikes. And your kit will include a new master headlight switch, a tidy tail with adapters, the spacers, and then this is the turn signal indicator harness. We'll begin the job by removing the two screws that hold the headlight mask on. The headlight pulls away by grasping it and moving it forward. Remove this connector. This is for the key. Remove the turn signal connectors by depressing the latch with your thumb, pulling apart. Or if that's difficult, you can use a small screwdriver, depress the latch here at the top. The last connector here is the headlight. Pinch the latch, pull apart. We'll remove the master headlight switch by taking out the two Phillips screws. Cut the zip tie that holds the wire to the handguard. Snap this latch and pull the cable free. Unplug the connector. Remove the dash indicator bulb by grabbing the wires here at the base. Put your fingers on the base, generate a little gap here, and then you can put your thumbnail in and slide this free. The last connector to remove is this one here above and behind the headlight connector. Here's what that connector looks like. You just need to depress that little latch and then it pulls apart. That release tab is right here. Press up and then pull out on the harness. In preparation for installing the new headlight switch, begin by removing the two screws at the back of the switch. Confirm that the two rubber grommets are on the back side of the bracket, and then this little hole right here is where the wire will fit through. Feed the wire behind the brake master cylinder, and using the supplied cable ties, feed it through the little gap. Again on the underside. Back side of your cable tie will look like that. Feed the switch into the bracket, clasp the latch, hold the wire into a slight 90. Plug in, remove this latch here, feed this wire through and retain it. We'll begin by installing the new turn signal connector harness, and this will be the connector that will go in first. You'll install that into this port right here. The latch goes down, slide it in and listen for the click. Plug in the LED indicator bulb into the socket right there. This connector will feed across the front. Plug in this switch, take these wires, tuck them back in and click the lock. Plug in the headlight connector. Attach the trigger wire from the switch to the relay. So with everything plugged in, the final step will be just to make sure that our wire management looks good, that all your wire latches are attached and connected. And then you'll see here that these electrical connectors on the 24 bikes have nice little nests. Make sure you utilize those. All of these connectors here have a little bracket that holds them. And so with your stock headlight and stock turn signals, you'll just plug your key back in here. Your turn signals will go here, and notice that we have right and left marked on that, and the headlight will connect here. Now this little flying lead, this is for our optional Taco Moto turn signals, and we're going to install that on this bike, and so we'll go to that step now. Begin by using a 13mm wrench and removing the stock nut. Remove the nut from the new signals. Here's a little tip on removing the wires. Pull the bullet connector through first, then the other. Same tip applies when reinstalling. Connector first, then the bullet. Check your alignment. Use a 14mm to snug up the nut. Do not over tighten. We'll plug in our headlight connector, key switch, turn signals. This last step is if we're using the Taco Moto turn signals, that we have these two white flying leads, and they will plug into this connector here. The bullets go in, and this is only if you're using the Taco Moto turn signals. If you're not, then you will not use this lead right here, and don't use this for any other purpose. To reinstall the headlight mask, loop this tab over the brake cable, and it goes underneath this little tab right here. It goes on the inside of it. Just bend the plastic away, make sure that it goes over the front and then through that. Now you can fit these two little buttons in the bottom of the light to the fender. Make sure nothing is pinched, and you can reseat that and reinstall your bolts, and you're done. To install the tidy tail, begin by removing the 3 connectors that feed the tail light. Might be helpful also if you remove the ECU. Remove the 8mm bolts here. On the underside of the fender, you have a mix of 8 and 6mm bolts. Remove on both sides the 8 and 6. Here in the rear, remove the 3 that are facing down. These 3 that are angled forward, we'll take those off once we get the under fender out. With those bolts all loose, the under fender loose, you can take your hand, put it on the top of the upper fender, push it, and the entire assembly will fall away. Take the wires from the upper fender, remove the 3 remaining screws. It's time to install the tidy tail light to the rear under fender. A little pro tip is I like to put a small dab of grease on the ends of the screws, on the button heads of the screws. Just makes it easier when you install it into the light itself. Slide the spacers on with a small ridge away from the light. With the license plate LEDs in the down position, slide this into the housing. On the back side, install the washer and the nut. Note these are nylock nuts, and the nylock portion should be facing out. Snug the screws, but do not over tighten. Route the wire into the latches. Feed the new connectors through the under fender. To reinstall the upper fender, position it here on the back of the bike and up on the top. Make sure that your wire is free and facing up here towards the front. And the best place to have it come out is up here towards this front area. Once you have this in place, you can push down and these little tabs will go into their retainers. As you begin to position the under fender, you can take the slack out of the cable by up at the top, pulling that through, and that will snug up your wire. You have the slack gone, you can take the under fender and then now locate it into position, making sure that all of your screw holes are going to line up, and then you can reinstall all the hardware on the underside. Up top, you can plug in the turn signal connector, tail light connector. This third one on the bike is not used, and any excess cable can be tucked here into this cavity. If you're installing the brake light pulsar module, you can put that in series with the tail light, and then that will live here underneath the ECU. Do final checks, make sure all the wires are free and clear, nothing is pinched, and you can reinstall these 2 bolts here. We can reinstall the seat. With everything installed, we can now start the bike. The engine has to be on for the lighting to work and test. Thank you for installing the Moto 2024 lighting kit. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Like, subscribe, go out, get some adventure.